To make his girl happy, Jake ditched me on the roadside. I ended up in a nasty car crash and was teetering on the edge of life when I suddenly noticed rapid-fire comments zipping through the dark night sky. Mia passed away, and then her double stepped in. I was stuck in a twisted story full of recurring abuse. The saddest character is Leo, who didn't realize that the person he'd admired for so long had died right beside him. Summoning my last bit of energy, I called up my nemesis, Leo. I didn't perish, and found myself in Leo's grip. He pinched my chin with a chilly grin, creeping onto his face. "When I kick the bucket, I'm definitely burying Mia with me," he said. His plan was to be together in death too. What's that if not true love? Love my freaking ass. He was clearly out to kill me. Then, out of nowhere, Leo leaned down and kissed me. I had a massive fallout with Jake, and he left me stranded by the road. The fight was all about his new intern at work, Lily. They say she's my spitting image, but younger and way more chill. While we were in the car, Jake got a distress call from her. On the phone, she was bawling, saying she had too much to drink and was getting hassled outside a bar. I shot him a sneer and asked, "If she's getting hassled, why didn't she hit up the cops instead of you?" On the other end, Lily heard my voice and tearfully apologized. "Sorry for bothering you." Jake and I go way back, like childhood friends, but things got icy after our families pushed us into a business marriage. We each have our own lives and keep our distance, but for some reason, I just couldn't stand Lily. I'd even go as far as to say I hated her. Jake called his assistant to scoop Lily up before turning back to me sneering, "Why do you hate Lily so much? You jealous or what?" "Wasn't jealous, just hated her," I replied, my voice trailing off as I noticed words floating outside the windshield. I scoffed. "Not only do I hate her, but I kinda hate you too. If she doesn't vanish, I'm breaking off the engagement." Shortly after, the assistant called. "Jake, Lily got wasted and headed to the riverside. Looks like she wants to jump." I suddenly remembered my dad's ex, who also sought death and life. My temper flared. "If you go to her today, we're done." Jake's eyebrows knitted together, his gaze darkening, a sign he was about to lose it. "You want her dead?" he asked, unlocking the car door. I was just as ready to bounce from Jake's presence. I yanked the door open and stepped out. The sleek black Mercedes sped off into the endless dusk. Only then did I realize I was left alone in the barren outskirts. Standing by the roadside, clutching my phone, I tried to find a signal. A bright light suddenly flashed from the side. Next thing I knew, a speeding car knocked me to the ground, its tire crushing my lower leg. A sharp pain from broken bones shot through me. The driver, scared of getting caught, didn't even glance my way and sped off. Bleeding and in agony, I held my phone tightly. Finally, I got a weak signal and dialed Jake's number. As soon as it connected, he hung up immediately. I was out in the sticks, the nearest hospital at least an hour away. I felt I wouldn't make it before help showed up. The sky was getting darker as I curled up on the concrete, the scent of blood filling my nose and mouth. Life was slipping away as I braced myself to call for emergency help. Then, I saw words drifting across the night sky again. When the ambulance arrived, I'd lost too much blood and died. So tragic. If Jake knew he'd just hung up on Mia's cry for help before her death, he'd probably regret it forever. Whether he would or not, he'd surely start hating Lily because of what happened. The saddest part is Leo, not knowing the person he liked for so long, had died so close to him, then went nuts and turned into a villain. The ending had to be bad. I blinked, confirming I saw Leo's name. He was so near. Shifting my body, the will to live gave me enough strength to dial Leo's number. The call was quickly answered, his voice cold. "Speak." I felt like crying. We'd been so hostile before. I never expected him not to hang up on my call. With a weak, shaky voice, I told him, "I'm in a car accident, dying, save me." He paused, then immediately asked, "Where are you?" I gave him the address and didn't hang up. Shaking from pain, unable to speak, dazed, all I heard was Leo telling me not to be scared. He seemed like he'd never said that before. We'd plotted against each other, fought hard, but now I felt he was the best person in the world. Moonlight pierced through thin clouds, lighting up the ground. As the cold wind blew, my body temperature dropped with the blood loss. Shivering, struggling to open my eyes, I saw Leo rushing towards me in a panic. Before darkness took over again, words appeared before me once more. Was Mia saved? She didn't die. Why did it feel different from typical novel plots? Suddenly, it seemed intriguing. So I kept reading. During my 2-week coma, I gradually figured it out. The words I saw were called bullet comments. Through them, I learned I was a supporting character who died early in a novel. Jake was the male lead, Lily the female lead. And after my death, Lily, who looked like me but younger, took my place, starting a deep and abusive love story with Jake. I thought Jake didn't care about me anymore, but turns out he always had me in his heart. After I died, he couldn't forget me so much that he had both love and hate for Lily. Honestly, I found this novel's plot pretty gross. I hadn't even found peace after death becoming part of the abusive love between the main characters. On the day I woke up, the bullet comments started again, flooding the screen. Mia woke up. She really didn't die. Jake still thought she had just vanished in anger and kept hanging out with Lily, waiting for her to apologize. My fingers moved lightly, and Leo, lying by the bed, immediately opened his eyes. He stared at me blankly and quickly called the doctor. While the doc checked me out, Leo sat beside me, eyes fixed on me. After listening to the doctor's orders, he walked over. I noticed the dark circles under his eyes, like he'd been watching over me day and night. He looked down, his expression dark and unclear. "Why'd you call me?" I didn't know how to explain, so I just croaked out. "I accidentally dialed your number. Thanks for saving me." Leo's dark eyes were cold. The doctor said I was okay now. Since I was awake, "Call your fiancé to pick you up," he added. I whispered, "Maybe we can be friends." With his tall figure backlit, darkness deepened under his brow, and he coldly said, "Mia, being friends with you would cost me billions." Leo had climbed up the ladder step by step. No connections, no backup. So his methods were ruthless. He'd do anything to snag business deals, gaining a notorious rep in the business world. 3 years ago, he'd taken 2 projects from Jake back to back. In retaliation, I'd approached him deliberately. Surprisingly, he wasn't too guarded around me, and soon Jake and I snatched the most important deal from him, costing him billions. This money might not matter to Leo now, but 3 years ago, it was a crippling blow that nearly broke him. The last time we met, he'd threatened me, fiercely pinching my face. "Mia, next time, I'll personally kill you." But this time, instead of killing me, he saved my life. I watched him walk away and sighed softly, realizing he probably wouldn't deal with me anymore in this lifetime. Then, another line of bullet comments floated before me. "Call him baby and see if he answers." Prompted by this unexpected tip, I hesitantly whispered, "Baby." Leo stopped in his tracks, standing at the door, looking tense. He actually heard it. I stared at the buzzing bullet comments on the screen, my ears burning, wishing I could disappear. Leo slowly turned around, asking, "Are you out of your mind?" I buried my head in the blanket, peeking at him through a gap. According to the bullet comments, Lily was the daughter from my dad's affair back then, and now my dad had acknowledged her. Following the plot, after my death, my dad had Lily marry Jake as my replacement. With a new daughter now, my dad didn't seem too sad about my death, even though he had begged me to agree to marry Jake for his company's sake. It seemed my interests would never matter as much as his. Rather than going back now and being treated like a pawn by my dad, forced to marry Jake, I'd rather pretend to have lost my mind. Emerging from the blanket, I told Leo, "At first, my dad made me marry you to settle a debt. Even though it was a business marriage, you don't have to be so cold towards me. We can be friends." The night was deep. Leo's figure blended into the darkness, his deep eyes unreadable. I coughed weakly and said, "Leo, I need some water." He went to the table, poured a glass, then walked over, gently holding me up, and started feeding me water. "Mia, if I find out you're lying to me again, I'll really kill you," he warned, his voice menacingly cold. Shaking slightly, I started coughing, choking on the water. Leo set the glass down, patted my back lightly, a faint laugh escaping him. "Slow down, your face is all red." After my breathing eased, Leo tucked me in, sitting by the bed, feeling my forehead for temperature, then called his assistant. With fingers that had a hint of calluses, he gently played with the loose strands of hair on my forehead. his deep black eyes carefully reading my expression. "Did you just say your mind is broken?" I was stunned. I wasn't fully healed yet and had only planned to play dumb for a while, avoiding Jake's wedding. It seemed I'd attracted the wrong attention. If I'd known, I'd have kept pretending to be dead. I tilted my head away, avoiding his touch. "There's nothing between us. It was arranged before the engagement. This marriage is just business, no interference in other areas." Leo realized I mistook him for Jake. He squinted slightly and asked, "Mia, do you know what kind of person I am?" I shrank my neck, whispering softly, "A good person." In the dark, Leo looked cold and intimidating, but I was tired and sleepy, soon drifting off with my eyes closed. In a moment of blurry consciousness, I smelled a faint woody scent mixed with my breath, fleeting. The bullet curtain now. "Leo, you're just zero point 0.1 centimeters away. Why did you stop? And you even dare not kiss her." "Leo, what's wrong with you?" the doctor said after the accident. "I might have memory confusion, so the mixing people up was normal. Maybe it'd get better." I didn't know what Leo was thinking. He didn't deny he was my fiancé and came to see me every day. The bullet comments said he was doing this to avoid upsetting me and help me recover. It seemed like all the kindness he had left was for me, but I was so moody and stubborn. Jake couldn't stand my temper a long time ago. Leo shouldn't like me. 2 days ago, I threw a fit in the hospital, and Leo took me home. After finding out my brain was messed up, his patience was surprisingly good. No matter how I acted, he never got angry. People around him even thought he had a messed up brain. The weather quickly turned to early summer, sunshine streaming through the blinds, bringing warmth even in the breeze. My legs were treated, and I could finally walk. Leo was sitting beside my bed, slowly peeling an apple. The light gold glimmered on his bangs, and when he looked up, the sunlight just brushed over his cold black eyes, creating a gentle illusion. It took me a while to snap out of it. I took the apple from his hand, took a bite, and tossed it on the ground. "Tastes bad." Leo frowned slightly, showing a hint of impatience. Honestly, no one could stand someone like me. During the 2 months I was missing, even my dad and Jake didn't care about me, never tried to find me. It's good Leo woke up early and knew what kind of person I was. Who knew he stood up straight, picked up the apple from the ground, rinsed it quickly with water from the kettle, then bit into it, narrowing his black eyes as he looked at me. There was a hint of danger in his expression. I immediately stepped back and said softly, "I bit into that apple." Leo smiled coldly at the corner of his mouth. "Mia's never been hungry, doesn't get the value of food." It seemed like the first time he was angry at me after all this time. He finished the apple and quickly headed to the office. He started from scratch and was busy every day. Although he came to see me daily during the 2 months of recovery, our time together was limited. Most of what I knew about him came from the bullet curtain. At that moment, more bullet comments floated across the screen. Leo had been orphaned since he was a kid, fought stray dogs for food, started underground boxing at 14, and took numerous beatings just to get a meal. Only Leo remembered Mia after she died, but that spoiled brat like her didn't deserve him going crazy over her later. Thinking back to 3 years ago, Mia had casually mentioned eating strawberry souffle with him the next day, but she stole his business and vanished. Leo waited for her in the rain that day. At night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. I planned to go back and destroy the contracts I signed with Jake. Those businesses would naturally fall into Leo's hands. As long as our families and Jake no longer worked together, Leo would have no competition. How could I have no conscience? I lay in bed, staring at the screen full of accusations about my lack of conscience, then suddenly sat up. In the quiet night, I sighed deeply. I really deserved to die. I grabbed the crutch beside the bed and headed to the kitchen. I turned on the kitchen light, limped to the fridge, and took out ingredients. I'm picky, so the fridge has almost everything, and making a souffle was no problem. After cooking the batter, squeezing some cream on it, and placing fresh strawberries on top, I looked at the exquisite dessert on the plate and snorted coldly. Let's see who dares to say I'm not sorry to Leo. Did you call me? My body stiffened as I slowly turned around to look at Leo, who was leaning lazily against the doorframe. I didn't know how long he'd been standing there, but I quickly figured it out from the bullet comments. It seemed he'd been there since shortly after I entered the kitchen. I couldn't help but complain, "Are you a ghost, standing behind people without a sound?" He walked into the kitchen, pulled his lips. "Why didn't you call someone if you wanted to eat? Why sneak into the kitchen in the middle of the night like a ghost?" I pushed the souffle towards him. "I made it for you." Realizing I said the wrong thing, I quickly fell silent. Leo was momentarily taken aback, then tilted his head slightly to look at me. Just remembered everything, finally stopped calling me husband randomly. After calling me once, I pursed my lips and said, "I wasn't the one you were calling." The smile in Leo's eyes vanished instantly, and he lowered his voice to ask, "Then who were you calling?" As I stood on one foot, I subconsciously took a step back. My foot stumbled, almost making me fall. Leo quickly grabbed my waist, lifted me up, and sat me down on the kitchen island. "Don't move." His low voice sounded especially alluring in the silent night. My breathing suddenly became erratic. With his hands on my sides, he glanced at the plate and asked, "Did you make this for me?" I nodded lightly. "But I don't like sweets. If you don't want it, just throw it away." I paused and said playfully, "Feed it to the dog." Leo picked up the spoon and started eating from the plate, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You cook well." Suddenly, he handed the spoon to my lips. "Taste it." Pink barrage comments flashed on the screen, and beside the man, I realized our interaction was getting way too ambiguous. I turned my head slightly and said, "I don't eat these at night. It'll make me gain weight." Leo pinched my chin, forcing me to look up at him. "If you don't eat it, I might think there's poison in this cake." He chuckled, and a strange emotion filled his dark eyes. "I can't die alone, right?" I bit into the cake on the spoon and glared at him, calling him a dog. Mia didn't get mad but laughed, feeding me while eating herself. The sweet smell lingered in the air as we quickly finished the souffle on the plate, even though there were only the two of us in the kitchen. However, the constant barrage of comments made me feel like we were being watched, making me super uncomfortable. After eating, I nervously jumped off the kitchen island. My mind went blank for a moment, almost forgetting about my injured left leg. When I realized it, I gasped in shock and absent-mindedly grabbed Leo's robe collar, pulling it open to reveal his toned chest. I leaned forward, burying my head in his chest. There was a bit of cream on his chest, gently rising and falling, leading down to chiseled abs with faint scars visible on his skin. The situation was too awkward. I froze until a voice came from above my head. "Mia, what are you trying to do?" I looked up and met his cryptic gaze, only to realize the barrage comments had disappeared. I looked at Leo, my eyes unfocused. "I just want to go back to sleep. Your legs are injured, don't move around." The next moment, my body felt light as he lifted me up. His woody scent filled my nostrils, making me nervous, and the fingertips clutching his shoulders tightened suddenly. Furrowing his brows slightly, he looked down at me. "Are you a cat?" I quickly released his shoulders, placing my hands on his chest with nowhere else to put them. It felt like this gesture was still inappropriate. Leo carried me steadily toward the bedroom, chuckling softly. "If your mind's back to normal, how should I handle you?" I innocently looked at him. "I don't get what you're saying, baby." Leo gazed at me. "Do you think I made it this far by being deceived?" Leo was getting harder and harder to fool. He gently laid me on the bed, and I reached up to embrace his neck, planting a soft kiss on his cheek. His body stiffened, looking bewildered. I blushed and whispered about the vibrating phone under my pillow. It was the secretary's voice on the other end. "Mia, Jake asked me about your whereabouts yesterday. I'm using my personal number now. Only the secretary can reach me." I rubbed my eyes. "How did you respond to him?" I asked. "I told him you went to Europe for business and wouldn't be back for a while, but next month is your wedding day." "Aren't you planning to come back?" I rolled over and continued speaking. "I'm planning to bail on the wedding. If he loves someone, let him. You're right, even if we're engaged, I can't just pick any jerk. I'm awake now." I stared at the ceiling and suddenly remembered Jake saying something about feeling fresh when he met Lily. At the time, I didn't get the hidden meaning in his words. But after meeting Leo again, I did feel quite refreshed. It was actually kinda interesting to think about. As soon as I finished speaking, I locked eyes with a pair of dark eyes in the corner, and my blood ran cold. It was Leo. I stood there dazed, my mind unable to process anything. My face turned pale, and I hurriedly ended the call and hid the phone behind me. "What are you doing here?" The barrage comments in front of my eyes. "Why is Leo still wearing the same robe from last night? Did he stay here all night?" I snapped back to reality, trembling as I asked him in a shaky voice, "You were here all night?" Leo propped his head on his hand, staring at me, and simply said, "I was wondering all night why you kissed me." And before I knew it, it was morning. Can a person really think about that all night? This dude must have some issues. I tried to calm myself down. Nope, couldn't calm down at all. Leo stayed in my room all night. That means he heard everything I said to the secretary on the phone earlier. I'm really in deep now. Leo stood up, walked slowly towards me, and smirked coldly. I didn't get it at first, but when I heard him on the phone just now, I figured it out. He grabbed my wrist, looked down at me menacingly, and said harshly, "Mia, so all this time you've been playing me." Veins bulged on his forehead. He was really pissed. His grip on my wrist tightened, and for a moment I felt like my bones were going to break. I winced in pain, and he loosened his hold a bit, immediately letting go. I rubbed my wrist, dared not look up at him, and whispered defensively, "My mind was hazy from last night." Leo chuckled. "So, when you called me baby last night, was that in your right mind? Tell me, how do you plan to mess with me this time?" I met his gaze with red eyes, tears welling up from the pain around mine. "No, I wasn't. I've been thinking straight," I replied. He reached out, lightly brushing the corner of my eye with his slightly rough fingertips, while his other hand held my reddened wrist, gently caressing it. "That's not gonna work. You can't bail out of the game or I'll retaliate before you can react." He lowered his head and bit me hard at the base of my thumb. I couldn't help but curse at him, but he didn't get mad. Instead, he looked down at me with a slight smile. "Psycho," I cursed in my mind. Suddenly, my phone rang behind me. Before I could react, Leo snatched my phone and answered it. Soon, Jake's voice came through. "Mia, our wedding is next month. Where did you go?" Jake took the secretary's phone. Leo's expression darkened. I reached out to grab the phone from his hand, but he stepped back, and I ended up falling into his arms. He held my fingers, and the warmth of his palms spread to mine. I mouthed to him, "I don't want to marry him. Don't let him find me." Leo paused, his icy glare instantly softening. On the phone, Jake started to threaten me. "Mia, I know you're trying to dodge the wedding. If you don't show up next week, I won't mind finding a new bride. You don't know your family has more than one daughter now. Even if you disappear, you can't stop the alliance between our families." With narrowed eyes, Leo gently played with my fingers, his voice lazy. "She's out of her mind now. She won't marry you." Jake hesitated. "Who are you? Why do you have Mia's phone?" "Right now she's in my hands," Leo said, Mia looking at me with a flustered expression, then laughed. Leo held me in his embrace, his actions forceful yet gentle. The woody fragrance from him invaded my senses, making me flustered and unable to move. "Mia," Jake gritted his teeth, calling my name. Before he could finish, Mia hung up the phone and tossed it aside. She reached out, gently rubbing my scalp, and asked softly, "Do you want me to deal with your fiancé?" I sat there dumbfounded, my mind blank until the barrage of comments on the screen filled my eyes. I realized I must have nodded just now. Has my mind really gone astray? Leo's slightly rough fingertips traced along my ear, the side of my face, and finally lingered on my lips. After a moment, a hint of amusement appeared in his eyes. "Relax." His deep, restrained voice was alluring. I closed my eyes tightly, then opened them. No, knowing someone's watching made it impossible. I was about to say something when there was a knock on the door. Leo immediately let go of me. His assistant entered the room. "Boss, there's a document that needs your urgent signature." Leo took the document, lowered his gaze, and suppressed the desire in his eyes. I breathed a sigh of relief. I looked up and met Leo's assessing gaze. He handed the document to the assistant, then leaned in close to my ear. "I'm busy today. I'll come find you tonight." My mind blanked out, and I asked him, "Don't you ever sleep?" He chuckled. "Then clean up and wait for me tonight." I stared blankly at Leo's retreating figure. Suddenly, I realized he might have misunderstood. That night, the maid helped me take a bath. I don't know if it was Leo's intention, but even the shower gel had a special floral scent. I waited nervously until late at night, but Leo didn't show up. I sat on the sofa by the window, reading a book, and fell asleep without realizing it. A loud noise woke me up. I opened my eyes in a panic and saw Leo standing at the door with his hands in his pockets, looking grim. "Mia, did you sleep well?" He only called me that when he was pissed. I looked up at him and asked, "What's wrong?" The nightlight by the bed illuminated his eyes, dark and cold once again. He stared at me quietly for a while. "I lost a business deal today, just like 3 years ago, because of a leak of confidential company info. It wasn't me this time." Mia was desperate to deny it. Leo slightly bent down, grabbed my wrist, and said, "I saved your life, but you're still scheming against me. Do you have a heart?" His voice was devoid of warmth, and suddenly, he pinned me down on the sofa. With his icy breath so close, I stared at him wide-eyed. "Leo, what are you trying to do?" He held my chin, a cold smirk playing on his lips. "You should know. It took stepping on many people for me to get here today. When I have nothing left, I will be dead and buried, and the day I die, I will drag Mia down with me." No, he didn't love me. He was trying to kill me. I blinked. Another barrage of comments flashed before my eyes. It was another classic abusive romance from a novel. No one speaks up even with misunderstandings, and even if they like each other, they can't say it. If only the misunderstanding could be cleared up. I calmed down and looked up at him. "I already said it wasn't me. You should investigate the mole in your company. Besides, I'm starting to like you now and won't harm you anymore." The coldness in Leo's eyes faded, leaving him stunned. He stared at me, a faint smile playing at the corner of his lips. "Even if you were lying to me this time, Mia, I'd still accept it," he said. Then he excitedly leaned down to nibble on my earlobe. Before I could scold him, his lips fiercely met mine. The light dimmed before my eyes, the noisy words vanished in an instant, and I found myself enveloped in his towering figure. Outside the window, the night was tranquil. The only sounds were our breathing and the chaotic rhythm of our heartbeats. With one hand on the back of my head and the other holding my fingers, our palms intertwined, fingers tightly locked. The fragrance of flowers wafting in from the terrace, mixed with Leo's woody scent, assaulted all my senses. His steady breathing by my ear grew heavier, slowly stealing my breath away until I was suffocating. Just as I struggled to breathe, he finally let me go. His fingers brushed off a hint of a bloody mark on his pale lips, and he stared at me with a smile. "You can be quite the biter too, quite like me," he said in a low, seductive voice that carried a hint of allure in the late night. Suddenly remembering something, he squinted slightly at me, almost forgetting. "You've been waiting for me to sleep all day." Before I could grasp the situation, he lifted me up and tossed me onto the soft bed without any warning. The next moment, he secured my waist, pulling me close and whispered, "Sleep." I stared at him in astonishment, but he lightly pinched my waist. "Your leg isn't healed yet, and I'm not a beast." Disappointed, I dared not speak, and quickly closed my eyes. Perhaps Leo had a love-struck brain, but it surely wasn't addled. He took my phone and began investigating the leaked information incident, quickly finding the traitor, one of his trusted aides who had been bribed by Jake. On the day I was cleared of suspicion, he returned my phone to me. Upon turning it on, a flood of missed calls and messages from Jake filled the screen, all anticipating our impending wedding. As the wedding date approached, Jake seemed genuinely anxious. With a hint of apology in his tone, Leo said, "Sorry, I misunderstood you." Looking at my phone without lifting my eyelids, I replied, "With my history, it's normal for you to suspect me. I'd have doubted myself too if I were in your shoes." Leo paused before continuing, "But I took your phone and didn't let you leave." Puzzled, I replied, "My leg is injured, the doctor advised me to rest. What door could I possibly go out through?" A light laugh came from above me, and Leo's voice was surprisingly gentle. "Then, let me do something for you." After some thought, I said, "I want to attend tomorrow's wedding." Feeling a sense of relief, I heard Leo agree. All right, I thought to myself. Leo couldn't be that crazy after all. The smile on Leo's lips faded, replaced by possessiveness in his cold, dark eyes. I also got an invite, but I need a female companion. Surprisingly, Leo took the initiative to massage my leg before bedtime. Despite his wild nature, he showed unexpected tenderness in that moment. He must have felt guilty for the misunderstanding. I watched him squat in front of me, lips curved in a smirk, thinking his care was well-deserved. Leo raised an eyebrow, looking at me with a mocking smile. "Who's the fox now? Your whole family are foxes." With my ankle in his hand, his dark eyes momentarily darkened as he asked, "Is your leg better?" I nodded. The doctor said it's almost healed. Slightly frantic to save myself, once I had indeed said I liked him, I pulled my leg back in embarrassment. "If I say I like you, will you believe it so easily?" Leo's cold gaze lingered on my flushed ears for a moment before he smiled, bringing my chin up to meet his lips. After a brief kiss, he pulled away, locking eyes with me. "What we didn't do that day will continue now." Confused, it took me a moment to realize his meaning as he pinned me down, and the words on the screen disappeared completely. Lightly kissing my neck, he leaned back to gaze at my expression. The room dimmed as moonlight illuminated the hard contours of his face. In that moment, I could hear my own accelerating heartbeat. Scared, I asked defiantly, "Leo?" He chuckled softly. "Don't come at me when you're drunk." I panted, pounding against him. "Jerk, don't act like that." A hint of hostility flashed in his eyes, and he sneered. "If I hadn't been drinking, I'd have gone up there and gouged Jake's eyes out. You dare look at me like that even after I got married." The way he talked, he really sounded like a villain. I tugged at his tie. "Don't be so bad. It won't end well for you." "What ending? It'll be a very gruesome death." "I'll take you with me then," he said, leisurely removing his watch, smiling at me. "And I'll take you with me at that time." He lowered his head and kissed me, silencing the unspoken words in my throat. After tossing and turning for half an hour, Leo finally left through the window. I changed clothes and sat in front of the dressing table, covering up the ambiguous traces on my body, and then the barrage reappeared. My legs felt weak as I walked downstairs. All the guests in the hall had their eyes on me. Leo stood in the crowd, suit and tie, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. He looked quite like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I casually shifted my gaze away, and as I walked down the last step, my father suddenly stood in front of me. "What are you doing here now? Do you want to ruin the engagement between our families?" he asked. I raised my eyes coldly and looked at him. "I've been missing for so long, but you never looked for me? During this time, you found a new daughter, and you arranged for her to marry Jake instead of me, making our family a laughingstock." With those words, my father publicly slapped me. My face turned to the side, with a faint taste of blood between my lips. The whole room fell silent. Leo, with a cold expression, was stopped by my gaze before he could do anything. My father pointed at me and scolded, "Get out!" I had always been obedient and never openly opposed my father like this before. "This is my home," I sneered. "From now on, Lily is your daughter, and I am just myself." My secretary hurried to my side and handed me a document. After signing it, I threw the document directly in front of my father. "You always said the company was your life's work, so I didn't fight for it all these years, letting you sit comfortably in a high position. But you probably forgot that the company was built by my mom and you together, not solely by you. You probably don't know that before my mom passed away, she acquired a lot of shares in various companies and quietly left them to me. So now I am the largest shareholder in the company. Tomorrow I'm going to hold a board meeting. Make sure you attend on time," I declared. My father looked at the document, completely dumbfounded. My eyes fell on a middle-aged woman behind my father. She was Lily's biological mother, my father's unforgettable first love after marriage. If I had really died in that car accident, what should have belonged to me and my mom would have ended up in her and Lily's hands. It's ridiculous to think about it. I bypassed my father and walked up to Jake's parents. "After I become the leader of the company, our cooperation with Jake's family ends today. It's hard for you to act out this drama of changing brides today." Jake's father turned pale with anger. "Not cooperating with Jake's family anymore? Who else would you do business with in the future then?" I could. Leo's voice suddenly rang out. "Who else would you do business with in the future then?" I shook my head. Jake, your business is bigger than ours for a reason. You still can't say such things. Leo walked slowly to my side, turned his head, and asked me, Mia, don't you mind getting your hands dirty? I was stunned for a moment. Leo coldly smirked. Since you don't have the habit of picking up men from the trash can, you shouldn't stay here. I almost burst out laughing. Leo had such a sharp tongue. Throughout the whole event, Jake had been staring at me intently. He seemed to be muttering something to himself. After reading the barrage, I realized he was saying I would never find anyone who loved me as much as him in my life. If I insisted on walking into the fire, he wouldn't care about me anymore. No wonder Lily, standing next to him, was so upset. I didn't look at Jake again. I just followed Leo out. Just as we exited the door, my high heels twisted, and my ankle felt a sharp pain. I looked at Leo's back and couldn't help but mutter, "Why walk so fast?" Leo heard my complaint and stopped, turning around to look at me. The next second, he directly squatted in front of me. "I'll give you a piggyback ride," he said. The people in the hall were all dumbfounded. After reading the barrage, I realized that they were shocked not by the close relationship between Leo and me, but by the fact that Leo, known for his stubbornness, was so attentive to my words. As I looked at the man squatting in front of me, I was also a bit stunned. "What are you trying to do?" Leo smiled. "How long do you want me to squat for? Hurry up and get on." I pursed my lips and directly climbed onto Leo's back, letting him carry me away. With Leo carrying me, stepping on the mottled moonlight on the ground, we walked steadily toward the parking lot. In the quiet night, he suddenly spoke. "By the way, I have good news for you. The person who hit you with the car has been found. He got into an accident while speeding. Is he dead?" I asked. "No," Leo replied. "So what's the good news about that?" I continued. "He crashed into a cliff while being chased by the police. Right now, he's barely alive. If he survives, he'll probably spend the rest of his life in prison." I knew Leo's personality. An eye for an eye. This accident shouldn't be a true accident. I hugged his neck tightly and whispered softly, "If I had a personality like yours, would I still be bullied?" He paused for a moment. "You are fine as you are now. Let me handle some things for you." I lowered my eyes slightly, and a teardrop rolled down his neck. Leo put me in the passenger seat, took off his glasses, and gently placed his warm palm on my slightly swollen cheek. Still hurting, he asked, "You've done so much for me, but I haven't done anything for you." "Why?" His knuckles lightly brushed my cheek as he said, "Just make me a few more meals. I quite like them." I nodded dazedly. Leo started the car, driving carefully due to my recent accident. The journey was silent, with a barrage of bullet comments flashing across the screen. Was Leo trying to propose to Mia just now? Why couldn't he say it? Afraid of rejection, maybe. In the confined silence, I could hear my heart beating faster. To be honest, I haven't figured out what Leo and I are now. But in the mall, we went from arch enemies to partners in an instant, almost like a special kind of trust. While my secretary sent over the contract, his deputy general manager had the lawyer scrutinize it word by word, afraid I'd play tricks. Leo, on the other hand, took the contract directly from the lawyer, signed it without even looking at it. The deputy general manager stomped his feet in anger, but Leo just smirked and threatened to transfer him to Antarctica if he said another word. After this, Leo came to me, his tone gentle. "Let me take you to dinner." I got into his car, took out a copy of the contract from my bag, and started explaining the terms to him. He seemed indifferent, glancing at the nearby alley. Suddenly, he asked, "I remember you have a bit of OCD. Should we go to the usual restaurant?" I suddenly saw a bullet comment. Leo probably wanted to take Mia to the street stall he used to frequent, but a girl like her would find it beneath her. I pursed my lips. "I'm tired of that. Why don't you take me to your favorite place?" He chuckled. "My favorite place might seem too rough for a lady like you." I turned to look at him. "I think you're pretty rough yourself, and I don't mind." Leo chuckled and accelerated, taking me to the Old Town area. Parking the black Bentley at the alley entrance, he grabbed my hand and led me to a shabby street stall, asking again, "Are you sure you want to eat here?" "Sure," I replied, sitting on a plastic stool as Leo quickly ordered dishes. Despite being a street stall, the tableware was clean, washed with boiling water. As I watched him casually, memories of his tough past surfaced, making me feel a twinge of sadness. The food arrived quickly, and he served me a dish. I looked at the smile on his face and said, "Tastes good." Then Leo brought up the topic of my father wanting to cut ties with me. I nodded. "They think I've been deceived by you, and soon the whole company will be in my hands causing bankruptcy." I retorted, "It's already good enough. If I haven't deceived you, I won't deceive you." "Mia," he said softly, "you told me you liked me. Was that true?" "Yes, it was true," I said. Leo laughed lightly. "You sound like you're lying now." I snapped and kicked his leg under the table, muttering, "Jerk!" "This doesn't sound like a lie," he responded. Suddenly, I understood the feeling of powerlessness described in the barrage of comments, even if I had the words. The neighborhood didn't seem safe. A few thugs at the next table eyed me maliciously. Leo took out money from his wallet and said, "Let's go. I'll cook you noodles at home." He pulled me up, draped his suit jacket over me, and led me out, urging me not to look back. As we walked, I heard footsteps behind us, realizing the thugs were following. Just when I was about to pick up the pace, Leo stopped me, sensing something was off. Turning around, I saw the thugs running away. Suddenly, several tall men appeared at the alley entrance. Before I could react, Leo stood in front of me, punching down a man who charged towards us. A flash of silver gleamed in the night. "Careful, they had knives," I shouted. Amid the sound of fists hitting flesh, Leo told me to find a place to hide. As I ran to a corner and fumbled for my phone to call the police, a man wielding a knife rushed towards me. It dawned on me that everything that happened today seemed to be aimed at me. Backing away in panic, just as the man's knife was about to stab my chest, Leo blocked his neck from behind, causing him to fall. Leo urged me to run, but as I took a few steps, I stumbled. Feeling useless, Leo approached me slowly and joked, "Mia, what would I do without you?" Gazing at the men lying in disarray behind him, I almost collapsed into his arms in fear. Suddenly, I froze, moved my hand away from his back, and felt a warm, sticky sensation. Blood. Leo was injured, bleeding profusely under his black shirt. Next second, Leo collapsed, taking me down with him. His usually warm body now felt cold, grasping his hand tightly. I stayed by his side as he was rushed into the emergency room and then into the ICU. The doctor said his condition was critical, vital signs weak. Just like he had protected me, I guarded him. I wanted to treat him well, but Leo remained in a coma for 2 months. I started to hate him. Curse him. "Leo, you jerk. Who allowed you to risk your life to save me without my consent? If you had died first, I would never forgive you. Even my own father wants to kill me. Why are you so good to me?" A knock on the door came from behind me. I turned coldly and saw Leo's deputy standing there. "What's up, Mia? Those 2 old people are already in jail. Not only your family's company, but Jake's company is done for as well," he said. I just nodded indifferently and replied, "Go handle it." The deputy immediately left. 2 months ago, those 4 people who stabbed Leo were arranged by my father. Their target was me. As long as I'm dead, the company would fall back into his hands. I've always known that I'm not important to him in terms of benefits, but I never thought he'd want my life. He's my only relative. Besides Leo, it seems like no one cares about me in this world. And this world without Leo would be so dull. I knew people like my father must have dirty hands, so I went crazy, starting from my family's company and uncovered many years of hidden secrets, implicating a lot of people. But now, the people trying to put me in a deadly situation have reached all the way to Paris. I leaned over Leo's bedside and muttered, "I have something to tell you. Not only is it my dad, even Jake's people want to kill me. You have a chance now. Wake up and protect me. If you don't care about me, I'm as good as dead." As my eyelids grew heavier, I felt a gentle touch on my head. I opened my eyes and met Leo's gaze. I quickly rang the bell to call the doctor, but his hand rested lightly on my wrist, as if he had something to say to me. I leaned in closer, asking, "If I died, would you want to be buried with me?" His voice was soft and hoarse. The rain that had been falling for 2 months finally stopped, and the dark clouds gradually dispersed. The doctor said Leo was lucky to have survived the danger. Not long after, he finally moved to a regular ward. I sat by his bedside, peeling an apple. Leo leaned against the head of the bed, watching me lazily, and smiled. Why don't you just give me the whole apple to eat? Then all that's left would be the core, he teased. I glared at him, continuing to peel the apple. You love it or you don't. You love it. You love it. You love it. Leo took a bite of the apple and raised an eyebrow at me. Someone said you've gone crazy while I was in a coma. I did it to avenge you, but I also dragged Mia into it. I have nothing left now. You better recover quickly, work well, and make money to compensate me, I said. Leo laughed. I'm still a patient and you want me to work. Do you have no conscience? I shook my head. No, I'm a bad person. You can still regret now. I don't regret it. Leo smiled faintly. I'm willing to be tormented by you for a lifetime. After Jake went bankrupt, he left the country with his last bit of fortune to start over. Lily wanted to leave with him, but her biological mother forced her to be with another rich guy. One day while I was shopping, I ran into her again. She came up to me, eyes red with tears. Mia, I'm now separated from Jake. I have to be with someone I don't like every day. Do you know what kind of life I'm living now? She always looked so pitiful, as if the whole world owed her something. I replied calmly, if you don't like him, you can choose to leave. What does it have to do with me? She shook her head. He won't let me and my mother go. Mia, we're sisters by blood. Can't you help me? I found it funny. She didn't resist herself, so why should I help her? Lily, do I look like a good person to you? I said, I didn't lay a hand on you because I don't care about you. And if he's not letting you go, won't you call the police? If you bother me again, Lily, I will call the police. Later, I heard the rich guy Lily followed ended their engagement and left her. Not long after, Jake made some money with his overseas company and returned home. Leo was worried he'd seek revenge on me and didn't let me out of his sight every day. But to our surprise, Jake had long forgotten about me. The person he wanted revenge on was Lily, who betrayed him. I didn't expect that when I heard about them again, it was in the news. After returning home, Jake lured Lily to his family's old mansion basement and kept her captive. After a week, Lily managed to escape when he wasn't paying attention and reported him to the police. She was taken to the hospital, beaten, and barely alive. During Lily's hospitalization, Jake's family paid off her mother to have her write a forgiveness letter to Jake. Lily, who was usually weak, cut ties with her own mother and insisted on suing Jake. Luck was on her side, as a top lawyer suddenly appeared and helped her win the lawsuit for free, sending Jake to prison. I lazily leaned against Leo's chest, watching TV. He glanced down at me, chuckled softly. Mia, do you have a special fetish for tearing off my clothes? He teased. I took a sip of watermelon juice he handed me and replied, only this way can I have some peace and quiet. Was the lawyer who helped Lily from your high school arranged by you? He asked. I suddenly felt like doing something good. Leo held me close, lowered his head with a hint of stubble on his chin, and rubbed his head against mine gently. Could you do one more good thing for me? I asked. What is it? Without a word, Leo went back to the room and changed into a white shirt he rarely wore. But when he did, he looked immaculate. Combined with his insanely handsome face, my heart unexpectedly raced, and my mind went blank for a couple of seconds before I mumbled, What do you want me to do? He walked closer, looked at me with a serious gaze, and said, When you woke up, I asked if you would want to be buried with me if you died. I didn't understand what he meant at first. It was only when the screen filled with live comments that I realized Leo was proposing to me. I didn't know if I was touched or angry, and I punched his chest angrily. You jerk! Who proposes like this? Leo laughed, grabbed my hand, and kissed the back of it gently. Then he took out a diamond ring and placed it on my ring finger. Stunned, I said, Don't you even want to know if I agree? He smiled. I know you do. Unlike before, the live comments disappeared before Leo leaned in to kiss me. And that prolonged, passionate kiss lasted for quite a while. Leo wiped away the tears at the corner of my eye and softly said, There was something I seemed to forget to tell you earlier. Mia, I love you for a long time.